J room.
Can't see.
Huh?
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm a 25-year Special Operations veteran, and I'm here today with Joshua Mankey from G9, and we're looking at this external hollow point bullet that he's developed. And Joshua, I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about this before we test it.
Certainly. It's an 80 grain projectile. It's solid copper. As the name suggests, all the geometry on this is external. It doesn't deform, it doesn't open. It's a shape that produces a great cavitation now. And so we want this shape to not deform.
Right.
A hollow point goes through a deformation process in opening up. It changes shape, and therefore we see a variation in the cavitation it produces through gel.
So you were saying that because it doesn't deform, that really helps it get through different barriers, so that when it gets through barrier and then hits tissue, it performs as intended.
Absolutely. There's no hole, there's no cavity to clog with drywall or clothing or anything like that. It's extremely hard to defeat a projectile that's intended to stay the same shape.
Okay. Awesome. So you were saying that if we shot this through glass, you're getting really flat trajectories through glass and not getting a lot of deflection like you would see with a lot of standard pistol rounds.
Yes, it's very uniform through glass.
So it acts a little bit more like a rifle going through glass. And what other mediums have you shot it through where you're not seeing it much deflection?
You know, it does extremely well in drywall. That's a common one. It does well in steel. It's got very low surface area, so the pressure per square inch is extremely high in impact. The one that we actually struggled with and we've tuned this to where it will not go through Kevlar, and so it stops in Kevlar.
Great.
And so even though we can get through a lot of very tough barriers, we've made it safe for law enforcement, and that it'll stop in Kevlar.
Sure, absolutely. It's the responsible thing to do.
Certainly.
Well, great. Well, I look forward to shooting it, and we'll see how it does.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we're here. We've got a target set up in the back seat, which is kind of a long shot for a pistol round. Normally, just shooting into the front seat's kind of tough. Do you think we can expect to see with a shot?
We're going to hit just about point of aim, point of impact with this.
Okay.
There's going to be a very minimal amount of deflection. Okay,
great. Well, I'm going to aim right between the eyes on that target there in the back seat, and we'll see what it does.
Great.
Great. The shot looked really good. It's we got a little bit of deflection, but I would have expected to see the round much lower than it actually hit. Maybe just a tad low, considering that's the back seat of a car. That, you know, in a big SUV like this, that's a very remarkable shot for a pistol. So let's do, just to make sure it wasn't a one-off, let me load up a couple more rounds, and then I'll shoot it from different angles through the same piece of glass, and just see what kind of group we can produce at that range through a windshield with a target that's about 8 feet behind the glass. All right, so you can see this is a pretty good shot group right here. I mean, that's a 3-inch shot group in the face. I was aiming right here. So at probably 8 feet from the windshield, I'm getting just a very little bit of deflection downward. I mean, maybe an inch. This one I dropped a little bit. You know, again, it's glass. I'm shooting it from these weird oblique angles, but this is an incredible shot group for a pistol at this range. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I've got a 5.56 rifle here. I'm going to take this 52 grain hollow point. This is commonly carried by a variety of different law enforcement agencies in their carbines. And just for comparison, I'm going to shoot a shot through the windshield and just see what kind of deflection we get out of this. Alright, so let's take a look here. That shot, I was aiming again right here. I had a little bit of an offset because of my height over bore. So my crosshairs were up here, my height over bore should have put me here. My round hit way down over here. So the remarkable thing is, with a high velocity 5.56 round, I got more deflection from my point of aim than I did with 5 of these pistol rounds. That's a really incredible thing for a pistol round to be able to do. So very impressed with what we were able to produce, and I would be really confident in being able to take a shot as a police officer or a military operator through a windshield and be able to hit somebody in a back seat without hitting somebody else I didn't want to hit. So really amazing stuff. Thing I'm going to do is we put up a watermelon on the headrest in the passenger seat. So we're just going to shoot a shot through the windshield. It's a pretty good shot at an oblique angle. The windshield's at about a 45-degree angle, and then I'm shooting it at probably another 30 degrees, 40 degrees off to the side. So from a law enforcement standpoint or military, you might only get one shot that you got to make count. Maybe this vehicle's moving. I've heard a lot of people say, well, shoot your first shot to break the glass and you shoot your second shot through. Very hard to do on a moving vehicle when you have a split-second decision to make. So let's see what this looks like. All right, so let's take a look at this bad watermelon's head here. It doesn't look like he's going to walk that one off. This is really impressive to see. Normally with a ball round, what you're going to get is a hole that goes in, a hole that goes out. But as we described before, that those flutes that are in the front of the bullet create these forces that push out sideways. And like you saw in the gel block video, that temporary cavitation that you're seeing, this is the type of effect that you're going to see with a rifle round because of the temporary cavitation that you typically don't see with a pistol. This is crazy impressive. Again, I shot this through glass, through here, a dead center shot, and got this result. Super impressed. This is what I would expect to see out of a high velocity rifle round. What we're going to do now is, I'm driving in my vehicle. I got a brand new windshield put up here for us to test with. I'm here with Mr. Shot Up Watermelon Head that we did a little while earlier. To get a shot out of your vehicle at this sharp oblique angle across the glass can be problematic to get a good accurate shot. So we've got a target out there. It's flapping around in the wind a little bit, but we'll get a good shot on it. So here we go. All right, so take a look at where this round hit. I was shooting at that orange dot through this windshield at the sharp oblique angle. And what you can see is the round is flying tip forward. It didn't side strike. It hit exactly where we wanted it to hit, and the round is going forward. And as we saw before, that round is going to have its intended effect on the target when it gets there. So the neat thing is you don't have to worry about the glass being a barrier for you. If you're using this ammo, it is going to shoot, it's going to go straight, it's going to hit what you're aiming at. So that's very remarkable, both from a self-defense standpoint and from a law enforcement standpoint. If you got to shoot through your windscreen or your windshield, you just shoot through it. It's not a big deal. So now we're going to check and see how these work on real tissue. You'll notice we have a really large entrance wound, which is something I've seen every time I've shot these. Even I've shot wild boar with these. We get a really large bursting wound. It seems that those facets that are cut into the front of the bullet, when they hit, they immediately start transferring energy outward, and you get these entrance wounds you can stick your finger in. Normally when you shoot a ball ammunition, you're just going to get a little tiny hole that pokes through the skin, and you don't get any of this bursting type action. On the back side, you can see you've got really good cavitation all the way through here, and then if you notice the hole that's in the drywall here, it's still tipped forward. We didn't get any deflection on that or any tumbling going through the medium. So very impressive. Now, for comparison's sake, we're going to take this 5.56 rifle. We're going to fire a green tip through the same chunk of flesh down here, see what kind of results we get. So let's take a look at this large roast that we just shot. Remember, this was our pistol round that went through here. We kind of had that bursting type of effect when the bullet first hit. We had a really big entrance wound. Here's our 5.56 round right here, and this is typically what we see not only with these high velocity rounds on your entrance wound, but also on most of your pistol rounds. They produce a very small entrance wound like this. Obviously, we had a lot of temporary cavitation with the 5.56 round. We only shot it from about 6 feet away, and so it kind of blew out the end over here. As we flip this big roast over, you'll see here's the exit that came out. Not terribly huge like you would expect to see. By comparison, we had about the same size. If you look at the hole here that was created by our pistol round, it created about the same size exit wound here. So you've got you can really appreciate how big that temporary cavitation wound, if you can kind of zoom in here and see how big that temporary cavitation wound is when that pistol round's going through there. When you look at the gel block video, you really see how that opens up and then it collapses back down. But in real tissue, that explosion, when it goes out like that, it tears all that flesh inside of there and creates a devastating wound. So very impressive. Really super impressed with this pistol round. And again, to be able to see that the pistol round here is still flying tip forward when it goes through here, and our 5.56 is tumbling after it goes through that much tissue right there. Very impressive.
What's your overall impressions on the bullets?
My overall impression with the pistol bullets is that they're super amazing. It's my takeaway from this is it kind of seems like you have the performance of what a rifle is doing at pistol ranges, mind you, but what a rifle does at close range, your pistol bullets are doing. The shooting through the windshield, your law enforcement stuff that shoots through the body armor, I still can't get my head around how a 9mm bullet can do all of that, and still when it hits, a closed system like this, you have this huge temporary cavitation in there, just super, super amazing. And then shooting through both of the car doors, I see this being a real game changer in the industry. One of the things I was thinking about or concerned about is that your bullet doesn't expand. And
Sure.
What was your thought process when you were designing it on why you didn't go with a traditional expanding bullet?
Well, we have nothing against expanding bullets. We have several in the line that do expand,
Okay.
and we looked at that. But through testing, we found that reliability was much higher on a non-expanding,
Okay.
and that we could create a cavitation shape, and it was ready to work on impact.
Right.
Where a hollow point has to deform to start working. And so we
Right.
just got reliability up and had the barrier blindness as well.
Right, I really like the barrier blindness, and I think that it seems like this cavitation that it's causing is actually going to create a permanent wound channel. I mean, obviously the temporary cavitation is going to open up and then come back down, but in tissue, like we saw when we shot that big chunk of meat, I mean, it looked like it had a hole going through it big enough you could have put a tennis ball through, and that's going to be a permanent wound channel within tissue or within a target or animal, whatever else you're shooting.
Sure, and we've seen that. That was kind of a surprise to us when we started. In situations shooting hogs, we've been surprised how much a non-expanding bullet really causes damage. There's a lot of blood vessels being cut. There's a lot of
Right.
bleeding. It puts them down extremely fast. We've had very good luck hunting.
Well, I really like being able to shoot through barriers, get through all the hard stuff, but then when the bullet hits the soft stuff, it performs just like it didn't go through anything. I think that's amazing, and it truly is a barrier blind projectile, and I'm
Sure.
super impressed with it.
Well, thank you. It's been
Thank
an
you.
honor.
Thanks.